Good day. My name is Milton Schoen, and welcome to America Salutes. Today we have Larry Shoppy, from the commander of American Legion Post Number 1, and Sue Hunter-Weir from Pioneer and Soldiers Cemetery, which is located at off of Cedar and Lake Street in Minneapolis, to discuss the cemetery and Memorial Day, what Post Number 1 does on Memorial Day to make it a special event in the community. So Sue, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about this historic cemetery, and I understand we have veterans that served all the way going back to the War of 1812 who are interred.
We do. Minneapolis Pioneers and Soldiers Cemetery is the oldest existing cemetery in Minneapolis, and it existed 5 years before Minnesota became a state, and it was privately owned and started out in 1853. In 2002, it was placed on the National Register of Historic Places, and for many years, for 10, 12 years, it was the only cemetery in Minnesota that had that distinction, so it's pretty interesting. And one of the reasons for that are the veterans. We have 4 veterans from the War of 1812, and 170 or so from the Civil War. And I say or so because with the internet, we gain and occasionally lose people who they thought were vets. We have about 15 from the Spanish-American War and 1 from World War I who was in the Aero Squadron. So it's been there a long time. We've had, to the best of our knowledge, there has been a Memorial Day observance there every year since 1868. So this was our 148th year. Speaking
of Memorial Day commemorations, I know American Legion Post Number 1, the Rifle Squad was there, and they performed admirably this Memorial Day. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Post Number 1 and what you do at this cemetery on Memorial Day?
Well, to get started, a little history behind it is American Legion Post Number 1 is very involved with the local community that they're located at, Stewart neighborhood. So they wanted to have a community-based Memorial Day service within the community, which would be a little bit more small community-based. And we had the resources of a rifle squad, and the leaders, formerly before me, they met with Sue Hunt here, and apparently they put together, the resources we have with her resources, and they put together a really nice Memorial Day service, community-based in that very historic cemetery right there on Cedar and Lake Street.
I know you do a substantial amount of work with Minnesota Transitions High School, and they've got a junior ROTC honor guard that participated in this event.
Yes, American Legion Post Number 1 is very supportive of the transition school, the Colin Powell School right there on Lake Street and 27th Avenue in the strip mall there. And we've done a lot of things for them where we've supported their prom when they graduate at the end of the year. We've done, us and many other organizations have had an award ceremony where we given awards to these young adults for academic achievement and athletic achievement. And in return, these young adults in that school spend a lot of time doing military functions for us. They've been there for presentation of colors, posting of colors at a lot of American Legion and military events throughout the Twin City area. Right now they're really involved with they're gonna have the Medal of Honor societies coming here for a convention, and they go out there and they actually perform the saluting of the Medal of Honors recipients when they depart an airplane. So they've been very involved with community military functions like that to support the American Legion's mission, and we support them, financially and awards and morally.
Right, and I know when they rededicated the flagpole down in the Gateway, which is I think where the first American Legion convention originated, they were there for that event, and which was done on Veterans Day, and they've acquitted themselves very well at many of those ceremonies throughout the community. Well, Sue, we were talking earlier, and you mentioned, you brought up the Boy Scouts and their critical role in the Memorial Day event, and can you tell us a little information about them?
One of the things that I particularly liked about this year was, in addition to the students from the Minnesota Transitions Charter School, we had 2 troops of Boy Scouts who were very actively involved in everything from groundskeeping to passing out programs, so that Scouts from Troop 1 came to the cemetery on Saturday, and they planted all of the urns and tidied up the garden, the flower beds, to make the cemetery look nice. On Sunday, Troop 82 put out flags. Every year they put out flags on each of the veterans' graves, and then they lined the roadway with small flags, which they get from Post 1. And then on the day itself, they set up chairs, pass out programs, pass out poppies, help people who need help getting to chairs, escort people, kind of direct traffic. And we had a lot of Scouts this year, which is good, because to provide the continuity for these observances, you have to get young people involved, and this is one way that happens.
And speaking of young people, you were mentioning earlier that the age of the people who were at the Memorial Day event this year were a bit younger than we've seen in past years.
They were. This has been very interesting, because I think that participation in Memorial Day sort of rises and falls a little bit. It's kind of a generational thing, and there's a lot going on. But I noticed this year that if we count chair rentals, we had more people who came than we usually do. We were laughing a little bit because we used Facebook to advertise, which is kind of a younger person's thing, although apparently they've moved on and do something else now. And I think that really helped to get the word out. And it's important. We also pick up some traffic because we do fundraising events in the cemetery for preservation projects. So we've had concerts and movies, and we announce things like the Memorial Day observance at those. And so that tends to draw in some younger people as well.
And Larry, I know the Post is connected to the community, and you mentioned the work with Minnesota Transitions High School and with the cemetery, and because your Post is located very close to the cemetery, there's that natural connection. And not only do you organize many aspects of the event, but you hold, I understand you hold a luncheon for all the participants who want to come after the event on Memorial Day at your Post.
Yeah, yes we do. We do the services, and after that we like to tell you, everyone, invite them up to American Legion Post number 1 on 25th Street, 25th Avenue, and have a nice lunch for them. And it's a nice chance for people to come to the services, to come down there and see us and meet the people, the players that are involved with doing everything that day. The junior ROTC comes down there. Sometimes Sue Hunt will come down there. The Rifle Squad will be down there. A lot of our Legion membership will be down there. So we had a nice crowd once again, of the community people that are right there living there. We've had people that have said to us, I live 6 blocks from American Legion, and I never knew that we had the services right there. And so and that's why I think Sue's talking about we had a much younger crowd and a bigger crowd this year. I think we did a much better job this year of advertising within the local community that this is what we have here. And I think some people this year really kind of grasp the idea that it's really wonderful that this American Legion right in your neighborhood, community-based, with this beautiful cemetery, historic cemetery right there, has a very wonderful small community-based Memorial Day service. So I think with that, we had a nice larger crowd and a younger crowd this year.
Now, Sue, I believe it's the Seward Community Band participates.
I was just thinking about them.
There's, could you tell us a little bit about their involvement?
I really got involved with the cemetery's observance in about 2002, and the Seward Community Concert Band had been participating long before that, and they really set the tone for the entire day. I mean, there's nothing quite like John Philip Sousa to get people tapping their toes and sort of in the mood for this. And then they close out the observance with doing echoing taps, which is probably as heartbreaking a sound as you will ever hear. I mean, it's really quite impressive. The minister who does the invocation and the benediction is actually a band member, and Reverend Becky Seacrest, and she has done that for as long as I can remember. So there's this very intense sort of community piece that goes on. It's just, I'm not sure how that came about, but it certainly makes sense given where the cemetery is located, that the Seward Band would be the appropriate group to be playing there. And I can't imagine what this ceremony would be like without them. They are so good.
It's not a one-note band. There's many elements to this, whether it's the Boy Scouts, the Rifle Squad, the Honor Guard, I think you had a Minnesota transition student was reading General Logan's orders, and you've got Memorial Day is an interesting event because the way you design it, that young people have a chance to participate in that, and I think you had a couple young people from Minnesota Transitions had speaking parts. Is that right, Larry?
Yes, two of our young transition students got up and they both sang or spoke individual speeches about the history of the Gettysburg Address, which addressed President Lincoln talking about how important Memorial Day is going to be going on forever, and taking care of our veterans. And they had another one that they came up with, and they did a very good job of it. But what's nice about it is it gives these young students a chance to get up and actually be active in the services themselves. And I want to caveat something here with Sue. The Stewart Band is absolutely phenomenal. They're worth coming out by themselves to watch. And when they get up and they sing the 4 different branches, and every service member stands up, it's really, really a proud moment for everyone that's in that crowd.
That's the most moving moment in the entire observance, I think. I've seen it, I don't know how many times, and once it starts, you know, I think everybody tears up and watches it. And sort of following up on the community-based thing, we had an absolutely extraordinary speaker this year, Brigadier General Dennis Schulstad, who has spoken on several occasions at the cemetery, and he is a South Minneapolis born and bred gentleman and a remarkable speaker, but he's a Roosevelt High graduate, and so he is from the community, and I don't think I've ever seen any speaker who is as effective as he is in hitting the right tone and getting people really thinking about what the day is about. He's quite remarkable.
It was an exceptional speech that he gave, and it's an exceptional program because you've got all these elements that come together. Speaking of things coming together, given the age of the cemetery, there is a need for physical improvements in the cemetery, and I understand that 2 of our local legislators have put provisions in the bonding bill, which we didn't get a bonding bill, at least at this point, but they were included in that bonding bill that has not yet passed.
I am very hopeful that if they pass a bonding bill that the cemetery will be in it this year. Our state representative Karen Clark, this is part of her area, and our state senator Jeff Hayden introduced bonding bills. And what the money would be for, we have finished refurbishing the steel pickets, of which there are something like 1,853. And now what has to happen next is the limestone pillars that support those need to be disassembled, reassembled with the right kind of adhesive, and then capped so that water does not soak down through the limestone and eat out the stone. And that's what the money is for. Also, there's a small amount for decorative fencing along the 21st Avenue, the east side, which we always joke and say is historic chain link at the moment. The chain link dates from 1928, but it's not very attractive. So that's something we're working on, and hopeful that this is the year for us.
And this entire area is being transformed because we now have light rail that ends close to the cemetery. I know Hennepin County is in fact building a human service center right at the corner of Hiawatha and Lake that'll open in 2017. There's a YWCA. You mentioned the housing, so those of us who've been around for a while and have been used to.
The Midtown Farmers Market is right there. I mean, there's amazing stuff happening on Lake Street, and we participate. They have open streets where they close off various streets, and I think it's July 24th. Lake Street, a segment, will be closed off to car traffic. It will be bikes only. And last year we did some things like had old-fashioned games for the kids to play, demonstrating wooden toys, no plastic, again, just to get people interested in the cemetery. And we have things that we've developed over the years. We have a smartphone history hunt where people can go, for example, we have several vets included, where they can use their smartphone, scan a QR code, and get a biography and perhaps a photograph of the person that whose grave they're standing by. So these are all ways that we try to get people interested in the cemetery so that when we need help, people have been very generous in supporting us. Individuals have, adopted pickets in the fence, and that was a lot of fun.
And just as the surrounding neighborhood is being transformed, it appears that hopefully with the bonding that there will be a transformation of the cemetery and an understanding of its connection to its surroundings. That I'm old enough that I've seen High Lake sit there for many years.
J.C. Penney's,
and
S&H stamps. Yep.
And it's like it was static for a long period of time, but now we're seeing the transformation of that corner, and it's Corcoran on one side, essentially Phillips on the other. It's going to be a real asset as we move forward, and it's a gem that people are starting to take another look at.
One of the things we're working on too, we talked earlier, is replacing military markers, or in some cases getting them for people who've never had them, which there are several people in the cemetery where it says on their record, military unit unknown. Well, with the internet, we can pretty much figure out where that is, and that information helps us get a marker. But I'm in the process of filling out 15 applications for replacement markers, and we're doing it in sections of the cemetery rather than sort of here, there, and everywhere. And the Daughters of Union Veterans gave us a $1,000 grant. The markers are free, but setting them, setting 15 markers, that's a professional's job. So
Right.
They gave us a grant to help us with that aspect of it. So we're looking forward to that later this summer.
Very good. And as I understand it, there is going to be a recognition of that in October.
We hope so.
So you hope to have all of that work completed in October. You'll have I believe it's a Sunday, you'll have
We're really hoping to do that, yes.
an event that marks that step forward for the cemetery.
And we'll be calling on Post 1 to help us with that.
And that'll be, once again, the junior ROTC, they're posting the colors, which is, they do a very well job of. There was one thing that I did want to get back to a little bit, the rifle squad itself. Mm-hmm. Our rifle squad has 7 shooters and a leader. We use weapons that are identical to the World War II M1 rifle. We've been changing with our type of people we have there now, because with the passing of our World War II veterans and our Korean veterans and the aging, we've transferred transitioned over to a younger group of rifle shooters now. We have 3 Sons of American Legion members. These are 3 young men that have never had military training, that have come and allowed us to train them on all the military steps of attention, parade rest, port arms, present arms, you know, aim, fire, the whole entire process. They never had that. But since their grandfather or fathers were in the military, and they felt strongly enough about being part of that, that we got people in our rifle squad now that are 20 and 30 years old. And we also, first time, we got a 20-year-old retired Army Reserve and active duty female helicopter mechanic that joined our rifle team this year. So now we have first time we have a female on our rifle squad firing with us.
And that reflects the changes that we're seeing in the military, because if you go back to World War II, I think it was 2% of the people that served were female, and today it's about 20%.
Wow.
And so there's an arc as we move forward, and it's and when I do our work with Veterans Benefits, our largest growing group of veterans is female veterans. And so it's good to know that Post 1 recognizes that and is a part of it. And I know there are other things that the Post does through your fundraising. I know you support individuals to go to Boys and Girls State, which teaches government, and you present flags various places in the neighborhood, and you're involved in activities such as that, so that the money that you raise comes back into the community.
Yeah. Well, some of the things that we've done is, of course, we just had on this past Veterans Day, we had a local bank on Riverside and Cedar call us and ask us if there's anything we could do to help them celebrate Memorial Day. I'm sorry, Veterans Day. And we went down and we talked to them. And once again, it was a inner city group of people, and a lot of them were foreigners that come to this country and are studying a new life in Minnesota. And we brought an American flag down there, and we brought some historical pictures and stuff down there. And those people were so delighted that we would bring a flag down there for them, that they were fighting to get their picture taken with us and the flag. And there was one guy who was still working on his citizenship, and the other guy said, "You can't be near yet, you're not American yet." But the other guy said, "Well, I'm working, I'm gonna be American, I want my picture taken with that flag." So that was a really nice, community right down there in the heart of our community that we were very happy to work with. And we're working with homeless veterans up there at that Upper Bound, Common Bond up there in Fort Snelling, trying to work with the food shelves to bring food to those veterans there and make them sure that they're out well fed. We're helping with the Armed Forces Service Center, donating money out to them out there at the airport to help the active duty soldiers that are mobilized and demobilized, help them get through the system a lot better. We donate Viking tickets to the old soldiers home out there in Hiawatha. We're trying to send 4 old soldiers to a Vikings preseason game every year.
Minnesota Veterans Home out there,
Yeah, and we give some of those, in those junior ROTC, we give them 4 tickets to go to a Vikings game every year, preseason game. And we give money to the Stewart band, and we give some financial support here to the cemetery. So we are not I want to say a rich American Legion, but we do have some assets, and we try and use those assets within the neighborhood, trying to support the common cause within a neighborhood. And of course, we support Americanism and the American way. And one thing I didn't say is we do support sending kids up to Brainerd for the school patrol safety program.
Legionville.
Yes, we just sent 2 kids up here this summer. And myself, I'm going to go up there and see that, because I haven't been to Legionville myself, but I want to go see it and visit and get my hands on it, see what it's really all about.
And that's the state patrol is there, and they're training school patrol, the children who are trying to make other school children safe as they go to school. And it's a big deal statewide that and there's a large training that occurs there, and there's a tremendous amount of volunteer effort statewide that goes into that event.
Yeah, it's a good program. It's all about the school patrol, and then they also spread it further on water safety patrol and wilderness safety when you're out there hiking, and building fires, being around the fire. So they spread a lot of safety for these young kids at a young age, which is very valuable as they grow.
Yeah, it's a great connection.
Yes.
And Sue, I know sometimes we forget our past or let it go, but it sounds as though Pioneer and Soldier Cemetery is connected to the communities surrounding it.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned 1,700 followers on Facebook, and you're working to be connected to the community and to make this history come alive that many people might just drive by and not have any idea that it's there.
When we developed the smartphone history hunt, a few years back we were part of a competition with American Express, sponsored by American Express, to get preservation money, and the way that you won was to get the most votes on Facebook. Well, you know, we used to joke about, I'm going to set up 22,000 fake Gmail accounts so all of our dear departed can vote for themselves. We did not win on the popularity, but we did something unusual, which is we had a concert in the cemetery, and we had 1,500 people, most of them young, come. Mm-hmm. And it was, part of that was the smartphone history hunt. It was, how do you get young people to care? And this is a chronic issue for museums, for anybody who's involved in history. How do you do that? And we've been, I think, very, very successful with very little money. I mean, you know, we don't have a lot of money for these kinds of things, but people really are very responsive to the kinds of activities. We have now, I think it's 135 columns that have appeared in the Alley newspaper. There's
Mm-hmm.
a monthly column each month about the cemetery. It just kind of, you know, snowballs, so we get people following us.
Well, in our last half minute, if either you want to leave us with any thoughts.
Well, it depends how political I can get here, but basically, the American Legions have always been a very good program for the United States throughout the history of the American Legions. And once again, they're getting smaller. You know, the guys that are very strong in them was that really after World War II and Korean War, they really grew and got big. And I guess the message we got to get out is they're a very good organization that looks out for the community that they belong to. They look out for taking care of veterans. I mean, we have people that go up to the hospital for blood donations. You go up for Christmas and bring stuff out to the veterans that are in the hospital. That's American Legion does a lot of stuff like that. And they look out for veterans that are filing benefit claims. The American Legion's right there to support them 100%. And what the message needs to be put out is a lot of these young veterans from OIF and OEF are coming home here and they're not getting involved. And the message is, it's not a place just to go sit and get drunk all the time, American Legion, what people think, or get liquored up. It's a place that these new veterans should come here and be a part of this community as veterans and help the veterans' cause.
And they could be as connected to the community as Post Number 1 is.
Yes, and national veterans, you know, because like the national and the state, they look out for our state veterans, our local veterans, and our national veterans. So the American Legion really does a good job of trying to protect veterans' benefits.
Very good. Well, I want to thank our guests
Thank
today for all the information that you've given us on Memorial Day and Pioneer and Soldier Cemetery. And we know that our viewers are more well informed after hearing from you.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you
for having us.
All right, my pleasure.